Hi everyone, it's Love. Thanks for coming to my channel. All right, so reflections part two on work at a psych hospital. So I worked at a psych hospital 8 years ago, and yeah. Then I opened my private practice 8 years ago, and I left. But I worked there for 2.5 years, and I know that people have like a lot of questions about the environment and that type of thing that's in there. So I figured you know I'll talk a little bit. I have some notes, and I hope that this is probably like the fifth time I have tried to do this video, and I'm like, all right, hopefully this will go over. All right. So I think one of the biggest questions that people have is what gets you into the hospital? And that is, so there's a couple of things, like you can check yourself in if you feel like it's a place for you to be, but just know that especially if you check yourself in on a weekend, you're not getting out until Monday. When like an actual, real doctor can come and see you. The on-call doctors don't make those decisions. If you check yourself in, I think you can leave AMA, which is against medical advice. Especially like I've seen people like check themselves in and then go, no, 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 I don't want to be here. Never mind, and then like try and leave it and leave AMA. Um, so that's one way. The other way is usually like police get involved, um, and like they take you to the ER or the emergency department, and like the emergency department, the doctor there decides that you need to go someplace. They probably have you held in some like psych emergency room area without like a lot of stuff, like almost nothing on the wall, that type of thing, because they don't want you to hurt yourself or anyone else really. And then you go into a short-term behavioral health center, which is what the place where I worked, that's what they like to be called. I like calling it a psych hospital because short-term behavioral health facility seems like such a mouthful. It gets to be enough. And I feel like people will understand if I say psych hospital compared to short-term behavioral health facility. I don't know. Like I know people play politics with the message in the way that I need it to convey it. Okay. Um, if So usually on any therapist like voicemail, they say like if you're feeling like this is a like mental, like psychological emergency, like go to your local emergency room. That's the type of stuff, like it's extreme cases usually. I'm like, I know that people think that if they just have like a rough moment, especially if they have some like issues at work or something, that they're suddenly just going to, go to, be checked into the mental hospital or something like that. And, it's not like that. I mean, I've known someone personally who said that they had like a bad panic attack and that they ended up in the hospital for 2 weeks. But like, I still feel like that was pretty extreme. And I'm like, how bad was this panic attack? Did it last for like days? Like what, and of course, like, I mean, you can't just ask people those type of questions. You can't just ask people those type of questions. So yeah, like I don't know, but I mean, pretty significant if someone's like in a hospital for that long. Um, it's like usually like if it's no significant issue, like it'll be like a couple of days. If it's a drug detox, in Connecticut, it can, at that time, which I don't know what it is now, but it could be, what is that, a 3-day paper, a 5-day paper, or a 15-day paper. That just means that there's like a write-up from a doctor that says that you need to be in the hospital for that long, because of like, you're detoxing, and then hopefully you'll either go to a program or to a halfway house. So yeah, there's like a couple of, ways. Some people, if they're feeling suicidal, and I know that that's kind of a, whole thing, they might go to the hospital for that. Um, if they feel like hurting themselves, if they do attempt to hurt themselves, that's significant. If they're psychotic, or have psychosis or have schizophrenia and they go off their medication, um, they might end up doing something that would land them in a hospital like that. And then we would probably get them, leveled on their medication, make sure they have their supports, and then send them home. And that could take a week, that could take a couple of months. It really is like it's a tough place. The kids are the worst cases, not because like they're terrible or anything, but because they might stay longer, especially if at that point they're put in the foster care system, because usually they're like waiting for a placement. And that's like super sad. Like, that's what I mean is like bad, because it's just like it's a short-term behavioral health facility. It's not, residential. It's not a long-term thing. It's, it is unfortunate. And it's like you have to have these like very crappy boundaries, where it's like it's acceptable in other, like with other people, like where it's like, yeah, of course you wouldn't hug someone who's going to be there for a couple of days, but if it's one of the kids that you've worked with for the past 11 months, like you might want to give that kid a hug. Like, there are going to be times. But yeah, that is a very hands-off facility unless it was like a major issue, like, what I was saying before, like having to restrain someone. So I have listened to 10 Days in the Madhouse by Nellie Bly, it from LibriVox. LibriVox is like they have volunteers to read books that are in the public domain. So I do think that there's some things in there. I think that there's always going to be an issue with safety in these places, because there is so much that you have to do to make sure that people don't have access to anything, but also treat them like humans. Anything to hurt themselves, but you also, or hurt other people, especially if they're having like a psychotic episode. But also, like, you have to make sure that like people aren't trying to hurt themselves for the other people, but it's like that they're still people. And it's like I just think that there's some things in there that are true to human nature in general. Like, she made note that like there were some people who came there for the paycheck, and there definitely are still people, because it's human nature, right? It's like the law of thirds, where it's like 1/3 are going to be me, like really just their paycheck. 1/3 are going to be like, wow, this is pretty cool. Like, you do like okay at your job. And then you're going to have that 1/3 that's like amazing at their job. And those are the people that like, man, I even liked hanging around them. Like, can I just have more of your time? Like, you're great, and you're great with patients. And like, so yeah, there's definitely that balance still. There were definitely people that I was like, what are you doing here? Like, why? And there were definitely people that I was like, you could be replaced with a log and people would probably be better off. I can only think of one person who I thought about that with, and I'm just like, I hope she still doesn't work there. She's just no. So, one of the things that definitely pushed me away from this type of work was that they started worrying about their reviews, and they started focusing on customer service. And one of the best things that you can do for a majority of people is to tell them no. And I don't mean like they make a valid, reasonable request. Like, could I have some water? I have a tickle in my throat, and like there were kids who had been in this hospital who the staff just gave and gave and gave. And I don't know, like, if they felt bad for the people like there or something, or like they didn't want to like have a meltdown or whatever. And like, it wasn't even like stuff that was reasonable. It was like, could I have that poster on the wall? Like, it's a poster about like how not to, or like how to wash your hands properly. Like we're gonna replace it with like a different one at the end, at the end of next month. But like, why do you want that? Like, we're just gonna put that away. Like that's how that works. But they would just take it off the wall, give it to the kid. And they did that to a couple of kids. And this one nurse, again, like I don't like saying that this was a weak person, but she was a weak person. She like pulled me aside one time and was like, "Well, we don't really want to say no to this kid." And I was like, "Are you? uh, This is not a luxury resort here. Like, of course you have bad reviews. Let's go over this." Some of the time people are here because there was police involved and a serious issue, like a serious issue, and they went to the emergency department, the ED, and then they came here. They came here because a doctor signed a form that said that they had to be here for at least 14 days. Um, they're not going to be happy about that. There's not very many people who are like, "This was a lovely experience. Thank you so much. This Everyone was so great and wonderful," and all of this. No, no, they're going to be mad. A lot of them are mad, and then like when they find out that they can't do the things that they want to do, like they get mad. And I'm like, oh, there were times that I was like, I understand why that person's mad. Totally understand why that person's mad. Yeah, like being treated the way that they were treated in some ways, like it it's not great. Things like not allowed to have your belts, not allowed to have safety scissors, just not allowed. Not allowed to have a radio, even though it does say in like the patient like thing that you're able to have access to a radio. You're able to have access to a radio if there's a staff member present for that, and if they're understaffed, of course you can't access the radio, whichever thing. And they just started just like being very to everything, which I thought was really dangerous. And it is not appropriate for a hospital to just be like, yeah, so this is this thing, like no, the people in there don't get to decide what's safe for them. Like we're here, we have researched this, we know what's safe, and we had a safe environment. One out much that you could really do to hurt like yourself or anyone else, that was the environment. And it was actually like really, I know that like that was one of the things that was like really shocking to me, because I thought of, I guess, of like jail cells and like how loud people could be and how things echo. And like I walk in there, it's recirculated air, everything's just really calm, and like people aren't screaming, they're just like they're trying to heal. And I liked that. That's why it was like, okay, maybe this is an opportunity for me, after my friend introduced me um to that. But then like you can't, like, there are some people who would be like, well, why can't we just have like, basically a resort, a bowling alley here? Why can't we just have ping pong here? Why can't we just have, all these other things that like some of the other places around do have? But like we just didn't. And it was like, well, like, if we had a foosball table or whatnot, like that can lead into other things. And like we lock that away. Like if they're used to having money, then like and they're used to gambling, like what are we doing here? What healing process can we possibly have to be like, yeah, go ahead, play these things, maybe you'll game. That they were being very honest with the foosball. Even when I play foosball, like like I can get really into it, and like not like and just be kind of aggressive about it. And they were like, oh, I wouldn't do that. And then like the next like time I overheard their conversations, like, oh man, I really hit that like ping pong ball, I made sure that like it hit him in, like just excessive, like, and I'm like, and that's not you being aggressive. And the guy was like, oh, yeah, that is actually, like, that could be, like, that's would we encourage that. We're trying to have people relax, not have their cell phones, not have all of these distractions, watch TV occasionally, like read some books, play some card games, nothing that like can really go too far, like, I mean, card games maybe, but like, nothing that can go too far. Um, and, I just don't think that people, like, I think that some people want it to be a resort on insurance's dime, which I'm like, none of us really deserve to have that. Like, that just makes everyone's like premium go up. And it's not fair. It's not fair to those people who are like, oh, I don't think that I would ever be in one of those places. And here's this person, their fifth time in, and they just needed to get away, but also they wanted to like have access to whatever. I know that there was one person who was trying to like go in there and sell drugs. I was like, wait, what? Why? um and there were a lot of other things that happened that I'm like, see, this is why we don't, like, this is why we have the rules that we do. And if we're going to be like focusing on customer service, we're inevitably going to like screw ourselves, because like it's going to end badly. And to my knowledge, they did have to change their program around, because it did end up pretty bad. Like, my friends would tell me how bad it was getting after I left. And one of like the nicest guys ever had like his arm like scratched up. One of my other friends was like, okay, so they're not talking about this, but they're just like talking about how we need to be safe and like walk each other to our cars and stuff. And I was like, are you kidding me? And she also told me that the police like arrived there a couple of times during one weekend, and it was like, it had gotten bad. And that's exactly where I would expect to go, because like they were just being so permissive about, oh, did you want this thing? Sure, let's go do that thing. Like, why? Well, what did you ask yourself what benefit this has to our patients? Like, did you stop? But yeah, I remember that one lady being like, well, we don't really want to say no. I'm like, I already talked to someone and told them the issue, and we've already like resolved the issue while you're here standing talking to me about how I'm not supposed to say no to this person that clearly needs to hear the word no. And there were things that like we just didn't have. Like, this person wanted stickers. We didn't, like, we had ran out of stickers. It was one of the things. We were like, we had ordered and we were waiting, the 2 weeks or a month or whatever to like get them. And so we didn't have them. What are we supposed to say? I can get you something else? Like, this is not about customer service. It can't be. That was definitely one of those things that I was like, yeah, we're good. Don't worry about it. Like, I'm out. Anyway, I hope that was helpful for you, and I will talk with you soon. All right, have a great day. Bye.